version you're about to hear has been edited for time. The complete unedited version lives inside the community. More on that later on. You'll find the link in the episode notes as well. Hello fellow beings, welcome to Tapasya Loading, a safe space to attempt honest, raw and authentic conversation in homage to the ancient act of stoking a sacred fire. This episode is brought to you by the Holistic Musician Academy, your home for 360-degree music mentorship, music, self-care and artist development. That sounds familiar?
No, I can't hear that. No, it's going through your headphones.
Ah, okay.
That's what headphones are for.
Well,
we almost forgot that too, huh?
I almost did. I'm listening to Lonnie's Lament.
Oh, nice. Yeah, well, I mean, that's one of those amazing tunes.
Bro, thanks for doing this, man. It's just you and me. No audiences, nothing. I've been listening to your album the whole day, trying to do some homework on it. But this is the kind of album, and I almost don't want to do homework on it. I just want to just take it all in and just listen.
That's maybe the best compliment, really, in a way.
Yeah.
That's the reason why you put it out there, kind of, not for musicians to, although I like what Monk said, Thelonious Monk, when he said, he composes with the idea that musicians are going to be intrigued and the audience is going to love it. So I kind of like that too. So
you saw that?
That's I'm paraphrasing, but I believe that's really what I like to sort of go for.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily thinking about the audience, but hopefully the end result will take in an audience that can appreciate it without over dissecting and all that stuff. Musicians, we listen to Monk and we take it in, but we're always going, oh man, I can't believe that those changes that he put in there we can't help dissecting it. It's just the way it is, man.
Well, you nailed that, I can assure you.
Yeah.
By the way, Monk is one of my favorites too, one of my big time favorites as well. Especially as a piano player, he just redefined so many perceptions of what the piano is supposed to be doing.
Yeah, that gets overlooked sometimes.
I know, right? It's like an entirely new tradition in piano playing. He really is single-handedly responsible for, which not a lot of people talk about it as much anymore. Sometimes you see these old videos where he's literally like bumping on the keys with just two fingers. Like, yeah, thank you.
No, piano has gotten much more slick as the years went by. It's a very slick approach. Most people, there are some still that are, taking what Monk was going for and, assimilating it in their own way. But, it's piano especially and guitars have actually, now that I think about all instruments have become very slick. I don't know if that's the right word, but that's what I feel.
Yeah. Slick is an interesting choice of words, actually. It's true. I mean, there is a certain degree of work some of these folks have put in to get that slick thing going. But it also makes you wonder, what the intentionality behind, the bigger intentionality behind that is. How much of it is in alignment to what jazz was supposed to be about, whatever jazz means anymore. I don't know what jazz means anymore. You're officially a professor in jazz, so you have a qualified take on this.
We kind of all are, man. It's like the way we study jazz musicians, everybody's a professor. Not necessarily a good teacher, but a professor.
Very well said. I can't imagine you not being a good teacher, though.
Well, it's interesting. I do surprise myself pretty often. I go in very insecure, believe it or not. Yeah. That's why I don't always love teaching, because it's like, oh man, we got an hour and a half to spend with this person, and we're talking about something that's way, pretty much beyond words in a sense. Sure, you can teach the tools and all that stuff, but most of these students don't just want the tools. They want to progress right away. YouTube scenario, burning on YouTube and all that stuff. So I want to get there right now. Okay, then it's up to you to, kind of calm them down and say, hey, this is going to take a year, if not what, you don't say that specifically, but this is going to take a long time, man. Depending on where they're at, you have to, you really need to buckle down and stop thinking about the light at the end of the tunnel and just be in the tunnel and work it. And then that other stuff, the magic, hopefully will come, but there's no guarantees. So
beautiful.
It's a crazy mindset we have to get ourselves into, man. I tell you, jazz musicians, they seem to be one of a kind for sure.
Dude, this is so crazy. It seems to be the sentiment of the day. Interestingly enough, I had 2 podcast recording sessions booked in for the same day, and both of you are 2 of my favorite dude guests. Both of you are, revisiting guests, and both of them are my favorite dudes. And this guy, the other guy is called a gentleman called, I'll say gentleman, he's called Ryan Hurst. He's a martial artist.
Oh, right.
Non-musician, martial artist, and movement trainer. This guy's got 4 black belts, lived in Japan for 28 years. Amazing. Just moved back to the States to his ancestral abode with his Japanese wife and 2 kids, because he wants to show his kids a little more of the American side of things. And we were talking about literally the same thing, this bypassing of depth in today's world. It doesn't really matter what the art is, if it's martial arts or if it's music. It feels like such a struggle on some days to really retain depth as an ongoing goal in the everyday practice, which is why you're one of the people I'm always constantly so ardently following, the consistency with which you've maintained that is so inspiring. And I'm not kissing butt here, I'm just being honest.
Oh, no, I never even thought of what you're saying. I mean,
really?
That's I just know that, whatever I put my mind to and release on as a record, I want it to be my best foot forward. So if it takes, obsession to really just do it all out and, not go out and socialize and all that, I will do that,
Mm-hmm.
And that comes a few times a year because whatever I'm working on a project, that's I feel that's what it takes.
Mm-hmm.
Full 100%, it's no different than a boxer or some sport. You see those football players, basketball players. Yeah, I don't go out. I just focus on it. And they're some of the top, and it's not a competition top. It's more just the top they can be, and that's usually enough.
100%. You talk about how so much of music has gotten slick, and it's that makes me think more about the first thing that jumps out at me from your record. Sound remains.
Yeah,
it's so masterful without being glossy. To me, it feels like a tribute to like a less popular part of jazz history. For one, you're playing steel string acoustic, which not a lot of people do anymore.
That's nice. I mean, Django, obviously, Reinhardt, and there are a few folks that do it, but nylon string is generally, the sound that jazz has taken on, and because of Brazilian music and other people like Ralph Towner, Pat Metheny, and I love nylon string too. It's something you can't replace with steel string. It's a totally different thing. You do have the acousticness in there, but there's just this. I don't even know there's an articulation thing that is just, you don't get that from any other instrument. But that being said, who knows, I might do some things on nylon string in the future, but,
of course,
I've been able to play my vocabulary better on steel string. Emulates a little bit of the electric in the sense. It's not, it doesn't diverge from sort of an electric guitar. It is acoustic, yes, but there's a pop to it that's easier, in a way, for the right hand. I'm talking about the right hand. The nylon string kind of bends a little bit, and you can't. It's harder to dig in sometimes. that being said, I mean, McLaughlin did, his stuff with nylon string and he dug in. So it's maybe I don't have the right setup. Generally speaking, when I get on a steel string, I feel like I can kind of, if the action's decently low, I feel like I can sort of get my eighth notes out. So, timbre too. On this record, you're talking about Sound Remains. We have Bill Ware on vibraphone. So that
gorgeous.
Definitely, he's beautiful. He's got a tone that's different, and I really dig that. So that was no mistake. I mean, that why I used steel string for this group. This is the third album from this group called Rock, Rez Abbasi Acoustic Quartet. But now it's a quintet, so rock still. The percussionist, Hassan Bakri. But so yeah, I just thought steel string and vibes have a really distinct upper register kind of thing going on. And when you start putting them in the same lineup frequency wise or so, it almost, it's not going to sound like one instrument, but you can elusively kind of think, wow, that sounds like kind of similar, even more so than piano and guitar.
100%. So it's they're also kind of balancing it.
Yeah, like a bell sound. Sorry, like it's got a bell, like a ping.
Yeah. Like the more shiny frequencies of the steel string meets the lower signy kind of vibes of the vibes.
And also the ride cymbal. You get all those together, and so you got to make up for some bottom. That's why I thought a percussion would be really great for this.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. For example, before I go there, there's so many questions for us. I want to ask you everything. Did you think about all of these, the whole interplay of the frequency spectrum before you actually started writing the music, or was that during the arrangement part of it?
Well, that's the weird thing. I know, a lot of composers, like they have you have this idea that you think of the players in the band, or you think of the instrumentation of the band. You think there's a lot of musical segments that you might think of before you compose. Actually, with me, if at all, maybe it was subconsciously I was thinking, but composition, it's its own animal to me. Like I don't really think about too much other than the music. Like sometimes I compose pieces and afterwards I pick the band. Because to me, it's just either the composition's great or it's not. It doesn't matter who's playing it. The composition comes first. And then after that, then it matters who's playing it. Like that's my choice of artists or so I don't remember the first couple records, what I was thinking, honestly. This record I was thinking about then because it was prior to actually recording that I thought, okay, I'm going to do another project with this band. And I had those two other records in our touring to remember to help me like sort of fortify the concept in my head. I knew how people played. So like I said, it's partly subconscious and a big part of it is just, is this a good composition, period,
So would you say you compartmentalize consciously between quote unquote composition and quote unquote arrangement?
When you say compartmentalize, you mean separate them or something? Yeah, that's interesting. I kind of do it at the same time.
That's what I thought.
Yeah, because arrangement is a big part of for me, it's the architecture is really a big part of the composition, the way the people and the way I hear it unfold. There's a big art in that, and I think that's a big art that's missing, quite honestly.
Same here.
It's like the days of the lead sheets. That's fine. I need to personally write more lead sheet type of material because when I go to sessions, I play the same 5 tunes that I've been playing for for decades because the rest of my tunes are all like, parts and complicated. You can't, it's hard to bring them to a session and expect people just to wing it and play. We end up stopping all over the place. So, lead sheet writing is beautiful when you can just put up something and boom, it's all there. But there's often something that's missing in terms of a modern aesthetic, which is, an unfolding of a story. Like even if you play letter A and B, and usually lead sheets are A and B, right, or A B A or whatever. Usually when you play that, it's nice and tight. It can be done, but I like solo sections to go in a different area. I like transitions. I write a lot of transitions between solo sections that are very catchy on their own, but they're just meant to be transitions. So someone listening to a whole tune feels a big sort of unraveling of something, and by the end they're like, it wasn't simply the improvisation that took them there; it was the whole thing.
So like a true journey. Yeah,
pretty much. Not all songs. I'm saying, this one on the record, Presence, that first composition, it has it has almost like two B sections. Like you think you're in the B section, then we play a little bit, then it goes to another B section. And I might have gotten that from Gershwin, one of his, oh my God, I forgot which tune, but one of his tunes does that. Every time I hear it, I'm like, wow, I thought that was the B. And now he went to a different B section. And I don't call it a C section because it's too similar to the B section.
That was interesting.
Yeah. Let me just turn down this fan, turn off this fan.
Are you in New York?
No, I'm in LA.
Nice.
So it's it's nice. It's not too hot, but it gets a little humid, but nothing like New York.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's interesting that you would refer to something. What's the difference between a second B section and a C section? I'm curious now.
Well, it has to do a lot with character,
Beautiful.
Usually C sections, there's a reason to call it a C section because it kind of veers off. It's like sort of there's a call, which is A, there's a response, which is B. And then there's what I've learned from composition, echo, which is sort of echo of call and response. Now, if you do call, response, and response, that's two B sections, kind of, because the response of the response is very similar. Now, echo kind of veers off into kind of a different land, so to speak. You have D and E. You can keep going if you really know how to compose.
Do you? I actually realized I don't really know what quote unquote subject you teach at the university, at the college you teach at. Is it composition or is it new school, right?
Yeah, new school. Well, right now it's private lessons only, but I was teaching ensemble classes and guitar ensemble plus ensemble classes with all instruments. But I started going out of town a lot. And so we were like going out of town and coming back with like 8 more classes to go and only 3 weeks left, or, and also getting subs all the time. So I just told them when I'm ready, I'll hit you back up. I don't know when that, but it's teaching's interesting. I mean, you gotta kind of show up. You gotta be down a lot, and I know a lot of these schools, it's unfortunate because a lot of the really well-known people are never there, actually, very rarely. And they're on the roster. So it becomes this, you're 19 years old. I'm going to go to this school and that school and study with this guy. And he's never there. He or she, never there. I've seen that happen, and it's just part of the reality. It's not just the new school. It's every single school. And, it's part of the reality because you can't have like, top players just sitting and teaching at home, being in town and teaching at the college all year round, or they wouldn't be top players. they're out there performing and recording and playing in different, so it's a bit of a weird dynamic.
Do you feel like a different person when you're teaching? Do you feel like it's a different role or a different identity you're taking on in the classroom as a leader? Or
what? It's interesting. Yeah, that's an interesting. Yeah, I mean, was that your question? Basically, the different. I didn't want to cut you off, but I'm just trying to go back to like. I mean, it's different when it's private lessons versus you have a
curriculum.
8-10 kids staring at you, waiting. Well, I've had some really great experiences, man. I've had people come up to me and said, like, that's, not to brag, but that's far and beyond the best ensemble I've ever been in. And, that heartfelt, like, you don't do it for that reason. But then after everything's done, they're like, man, I want that ensemble with you again. And, because you're the first person who said this or that, and the idea freedom and a lot of, unfortunately, from what I hear, some not everybody, but some educators have this sort of preconceived idea of what you should be teaching, and it's all based on pretty much tradition, and the door closes there. For me and for a lot of other people, it's that, but it's also the door's wide open. So you definitely, we're all in this for traditional reasons. I mean, we know that the tradition sparks a lot of creativity in the now, in the present. But if you're going to see a student, you got to read student by student. In other words, if you're going to see a student that is just not going to go there, I've had a number of them, and they just don't want to sound like bebop or whatever, and they have this other thing going on in their playing. I can remember an alto player and a couple of guitar players. I'm not going to tell them don't do that, but they've been told don't do that.
Oh, so what do you tell them?
I basically, that's a good question. I basically tell them, look, I don't want you to ever forget what you're doing. Be very aware of what you're doing. It's really, really genuinely you, and it sounds great. And I've never heard someone necessarily sound like that. And so they light up right there, because we all know that, your own sound is something that's very, very captivating and very hard to capture at the same time. So so when someone calls that out, instead of saying, oh, man, don't play that, play, that's a totally reverse way of teaching for me. So I tell them, I love what you're doing now. You're in college, so you might want to try, while you're here, you might want to try to, I don't know what we're talking about, but like target, if we're talking about 2-5-1s or something, target the third and the leading tones, go from the third to the whatever, to the second, and then, try and, focus on what outlines a 2-5-1, let's say, and yeah, go ahead.
No, go please.
Like the seventh to the seventh of a D minor C, the C note to the G7, a B. The most simplistic thing you can possibly do, really, on a 2-5-1. Really, I mean, and then when you hit the C major, you go to a sixth or something, an A note. So, those do what you're doing, but also try to incorporate the most basic things. And I'm not saying go and do a Dizzy Gillespie lick on the guitar or the alto, because that's, we can study those and, you can play it and see what resonates with you, but you don't have to play it, verbatimly or exactly, you can sketch your own thing out of that. And so there's a lot of layers, man. I think teaching in jazz is so intricate, man. It's beyond belief to me, even 100%. At my, to be able to still nurture the ideas, like I just said, take a Dizzy Gillespie idea or something, or Parker, play it on your instrument, and then pull out the juice of it. Don't play the exact same thing. the juice behind those notes? What are you hearing? That dig deeper. What are you hearing that's beyond? Here's a Charlie Parker idea. At 19 years old, that's all you're thinking. Oh, here's a Charlie Parker idea. Like, okay, well, pretend you're 50 years old and now listen to that and
such a difference.
Yeah, and see what you can pull out of that, and if it is similar, that's fine. I just don't want you to play it exactly the same. I want you to play the character of it. Okay, that's maybe a better way to put it.
That helps me so much, because the reason I'm asking these questions about teaching is we have our common friend Kenny Warner, who I know you studied with there as well, and
that's a new one.
Yeah.
We took lessons at the new school. Yeah, he was teaching there back
and
20.
When I listen to your record, I'm a part of me is obviously hearing so many things. I know the personal history behind it, but also I hear some of the philosophies you've obviously absorbed. Not to make presumptions. I don't know I shouldn't speak for anyone else, but I'm at a point where I can't. Obviously, there's the establishment of roles and boundaries that need to be observed, but when it actually comes to the practice of the art, I don't see as many. The lines keep getting blurred between mentor and mentee, and performing and actually being present. I'm not sure I'm doing such a great job of getting my point across, but when I listen to The Sound Remains, it's so much more than just music. There's something very way deeper underneath. And I happen to know that this was also inspired by the passing of your mom. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah. That's one. That's definitely.
That's one. But there's a sense of surrender in this record, which is I would like to. At least the way I hear it, which is new in the records I've heard till now. I hear a lot of surrender in it. Am I projecting, or would you like to comment on that?
Don't know how to put that into words. I try and surrender on all my records. Or every time I play, whatever surrender means to you. But if you hear it more on this record, then maybe it's a less kind of high energy bashing record than some of the other ones. I don't think it is. People have said, yeah, I like the mellowness. I don't know what the mellowness is. I don't hear mellowness. It's just because of his acoustic guitar versus, electric and all that. But there are mellow moments for sure. But the surrender thing, basically the album is kind of dealing with loss and impermanence in a way, and you don't feel that really nearly as much as because your father, you don't feel that nearly as much until you lose someone that close to you.
100%.
Impermanence is a word that's talked about in Buddhism and Hinduism and Taoism in a lot of great spiritual paths. But
if you're an independent artist feeling stuck, scattered, or just tired of figuring it all out alone, I've made something for you. It's called the Artist Mind Map 2.0. And yeah, it's been 5 years in the making. Built through real work with artists all around the world, from cities like Nashville, Tenerife, Mumbai, New York, Berlin, real-life people, musicians and artists. So not just theory, but lived stuff. And I've rebuilt this into a 6-day clarity sequence, a mini course. Each day gives you one simple prompt or tool, not fluff, just stuff that helps you finally move, focus, and remember who the heck you are. I'm building a community of holistic, happy creatives, musicians and artists who are building their careers on their own terms without selling out, without burning out. And contrary to what the industry says, this might actually be one of the best times in history to be an artist. but only if you know how to navigate what the real work is. So if this is something you're interested in, you can grab it free at holisticmusicianacademy.com. Just go to holisticmusicianacademy.com and click on free training.
But the thing is, you know, it's one thing to go to a restaurant and eat a great meal and it's, oh, that was great. And then the next day say, yeah, that was impermanent, man. I forgot about that was great at the moment, but I can't really relish in it right now. You know, I mean, that's, you know, and then there's another thing when you lose someone, you know, like especially you know, if you were close to your parents. And so that, you know, I was already writing these tunes by the time my mom passed. There's one called, Folks Song. And I wrote that behind me in LA when I was, listening, when I was watching my dad really, try and help my mom get through her kidney disease. So, so I just felt really bad for both of them. Jesus, man, this is like, so originally it was called My Folk Song, but then I realized all folks go through this and, you know, and we all have folks. So it's one I dedicated to everybody who has to go through these things, you know, which is really all of us.
Yeah. Mortality is as intense an invitation to learn to surrender as it gets. It's like the ultimate invitation to learn how to surrender. My mom had a stroke a week and a half back.
Oh no!
Yeah. I'm about to head to India on Friday to check in on her. I'm in Berlin now.
How's she actually doing?
Thankfully, knock on wood, she's doing remarkably well. She's a fighter. She's a doctor. She knows a little too much, but that also helps with knowing exactly what to do. So her attitude is really good. But, you know, all your learned vocation doesn't make you a machine. There's still her own brand of baggage, her own brand of trauma, her own brand of fears that are showing up in ways that are new to all of us. So it's an interesting phase we just moved into. She's already working, though. Her right hand's functional, completely functional. She started walking. But, yeah, you know, it's, it just kind of reminds you of how suddenly, speaking of transience, you know, how suddenly, I talked to her half an hour before she had a stroke, apparently. But
yeah, I mean, but just to, you know, to go off that, I mean, I was thinking because we went to a wedding the other night. Mm-hmm. And it was an outdoor wedding. It was 98 degrees. Mm-hmm. And my dad passed out.
Oh, wow.
Last weekend. So we were actually bringing him some water in general. And my wife said, "Oh my God, your dad's on the floor." And I looked over there and he was on the floor, passed out. So that view stuck in me, that picture's, mm-hmm. And it was like, oh my God, man, you know, like, and he's 92. So, yeah, and he was a former cardiologist, so he knows also, just like your mom, he knows. Mm-hmm. He was actually reading his own EKG.
Yeah.
Paramedics came and said, "Well, let me see it." I was like, "Wow!" But, anyways, that view, that seeing him on the ground, man, really evoked something in me. Like,
100%.
I don't even know. Like, it was. You know, I was thinking to myself, man, if he passes, because we don't know what it was at the time. It was heat. It was based on heat, you know, not heat stroke, but heat, whatever they call it. But you know, it made me think, like, if he passed, I don't know, this was just really quick. If he passed right there, I don't know how much I could do music. Like, it was really a deep feeling, man. I was like, Jesus Christ, man, am I going to even be able to play music after this? You know, first it was my mom, and then here I'm watching my dad. You know, thank God everything's totally cool. But I really was thinking, Jesus, okay, if I'm going back home without him, I don't know if I can do what I've been doing the last, you know, 40 years. which is not just playing music, but being so sort of on a roller coaster with the business. There's so much BS with the business.
Fuck yeah.
You know, of jazz that it really just dawned on me, like, what the hell am I doing, man?
Yeah.
Why am I in this? You know, like, why am I, you know, grappling with all these, you know, ignoramus jazz people that just, not all of them, obviously. There's a lot of great ones that's on stage, but, you know, critics and writer, you know, a lot of people, you know, the people who are tastemakers, basically, you know, I feel like they just skewed the whole thing to a very different level, you know. I mean, that's based on my lens, so that could just be me, but I just sometimes, you know. So anyway, that whole thing, I just thought to myself, man, if this happens, I don't know. I think I'm going to retire, man. It's a weird thing, but now that's a thought at the moment. Now, a year later, I could be playing again. We do that, you know. Sometimes we get a new spark and say, "Oh my God!" I remember Kenny Warner, for instance. His father died when he was on a Lee Konitz session. He told me that. This is when I was studying. Yeah, he was in the studio and he got a phone call. So now he could have freaked out and ran, but he played through the session. Wow. I think some of it was free, and I think I don't know what I remember hearing it years ago. And so, you know, he maintained that spark somehow.
Man, that man's been through so much. I mean, he lost a daughter, losing a child. That's like, poof.
That's really another level. I mean, that
really is. Yeah. It's but actually, I don't think you're the only one asking yourself these questions. In fact, I happen to know you're not the only person asking these questions. This trade-off of playing the game in the name of being a professional, one, and secondly, I took an entire year off last year when my dad passed. Not so much because it was about, you know, it had less to do with burnout, but very similarly, when you're going through something that real, you get so allergic for everything that's remotely unreal. I just didn't have any tolerance for any kind of bullshit. Like anyone. Yeah. And some of these people, they were probably even well-meaning. They just caught up in regular social conditioning, you know, like regular kind of means of communication. And not to judge her, but it was like, my levels of tolerance for any kind of pretension, as rude as it sounds, is this something, you know, that I cannot deal with. And
that kind of, in a nutshell, going through, you know, it was that kind of sort of, you know, BS versus kind of reality.
I think it's also the inner knowledge of, and I know you are definitely one of those guys who got into music for very, very deep reasons.
I think most of us did. I mean, in the start.
I wish I could say that. I want to think that, but I happen to know of people who got in for very different reasons. Not my place to judge, but I actually happen to know of people who got into it because they thought it was a great career, and they managed to make exactly that out of it, like a decent quote-unquote career. But there's our records I wouldn't want to spend a lot of time listening to, for example.
Yeah, I think I'm talking more about jazz.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
The stuff that's, you know, going to make you a lot of money. That's different.
How's your dad doing now, though?
What was that?
How's your dad doing now?
Oh, he's really good. Yeah, it was heat exhaustion is what it was. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
he's totally good. So I'm still playing.
You'll keep playing now. We'll make sure you keep playing some one way or the other.
Yeah, I got some things coming up, so I'm just still, you know, working on that and, you know, writing some new music and, you know, trying that. But, you know, hey, who knows when it's going to stop? And it's impermanence, man. That's what it is. Everything's going to stop
at some point.
If some people think of that as a negative, but it's the only truth that is. I mean, you know, unless I guess I suppose unless you believe in heaven and all that, which is fine. I mean, if that's what you believe, then maybe you continue what you're doing here up there when you're 80 years old. I don't know. I don't know how that works, but as far as I'm concerned, from what I've studied, this is all in everything. The spiritual path is really about, having discretion to know what the impermanence is versus the permanent. And it's a very tough sword to sharpen all the time, because we are 90% of the time in impermanence. And that's how we think. We're raised like that. Society tells us that, everything. And the permanence thing is very elusive, because it's not easy to, the brain, the ego can't grab it. So it's a tough thing.
But the sound remains.
Yeah, actually, it's not called The Sound. It's called Sound Remains.
I know.
It's going to call it The Sound Remains. Then Kieran, my wife, said, no, just call it Sound Remains. Okay.
Sound Remains.
Yeah.
Tell us more about that. For those of you who like to sit with things a little longer, the second half of this conversation lives inside the community, free to access, but behind one small act of intention. Sign up. You'll find the link in the episode notes. It opens not just this full, unedited exchange, but also the growing archive of raw, unfiltered dialogues from past sessions. See you on the other side.
Just another voice out in